This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Arushi Grover. I'm working as an assistant professor in Institute of Information Technology and Management, Janakpuri. Students, the topic that I'm going to discuss today is a part of the paper called BE and CSR, that is Business Ethics and Corporate Social Responsibility. This subject is a part of the curriculum of BCom and BBA courses. So the topic for today is business ethics and values, its concept and meaning, relevance of values and ethics in business, and ethical decision making. So, without any further ado, let's start with an introduction to the two terms. Firstly, business ethics. So, according to Dale S. Beach, business ethics refers to a set of moral principles which play a significant role in guiding the conduct of managers and employees in the operation of any enterprise. Basically, business ethics are your moral guidelines, standards of behavior that guides your actions while you're working in an organizational setting or while you're performing your duties, organizational duties. It is also important for us to understand or know how this word actually came into existence. So, ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which primarily means guiding beliefs, standards, or ideals which are a part of a group, community, or people. Ethics helps us all in taking value oriented decisions. Business ethics is also concerned with what is right and what is wrong, fair and unfair, just and unjust, desirable or undesirable, favorable or unfavorable. So examples of ethics could be honesty, integrity, loyalty, transparency, fairness, etc. Let's consider a case to have a better understanding of this. A very close friend or relative of an interviewer comes for an interview, and without asking a single question, or we can say rather relevant questions, the interviewer selects him or her. Now, this act is unethical because the recruitment and selection process here must be transparent and unbiased at all costs. Let's understand the next term, that is values. What are values? What does it mean? So, values, according to Milton Rockies, values are beliefs that guide actions and judgments across a variety of situations. So, in different scenarios, in different situations, how do people react? It totally depends on their value system. Each and everyone has a different value system, values that they focus upon, values that they follow in taking different actions and judgments. Values are the constellations of likes, dislikes, viewpoints, inner inclinations, rational and irrational judgments, prejudices, and association patterns that determine a person's view of the world. That means it is basically specific to a person, how a person sees his or her world. What is my view of the world? What is my likes, dislikes, viewpoints? Where am I inclined towards? What are my logics and what are my irrational judgments that I make? What I like, what I don't like, what I follow, what I don't follow. That is what is value to me. That is what is value to us. Values are very specific in nature. Values are very different for each person. Each person has a unique value system. Imagine a team in an organization. Each individual comes from different backgrounds, having different attitudes, opinions, educational qualifications, etc. So there is workforce diversity, and hence there are high chances of having conflicts and clashes in an organization, which is why it is vital for an organization to develop a shared value system, which is common for all. So something that is being followed by all, something that everyone can follow and move on in one common direction, which will help to bring unity. It will somehow help to induce cohesiveness in an organization. and will also allow each individual to focus on achieving organizational goals along with their obviously personal goals. Now, since we have got an understanding as to what are values and business ethics, let's move on to another topic, that is relevance of values and ethics in business. Now, these points that we're going to discuss will help us to understand or answer questions like why is there any need to understand values and ethics? What is their significance in an organization? So the points that I have jotted down here, certain points that would help to answer these questions. First of all, it's what we're going to study in detail is ethical decision making, creation of corporate culture, third, credibility, fourth, standards of behavior, legal requirements, and social responsibility. So all these points have been taken, all these terms have been taken from the definitions that we have just discussed. Let's understand them in detail. First is ethical decision making. So they help in differentiating between ethical and unethical alternatives to solving any business problem. This means we are guided by our value system, which helps us as decision makers to understand as to what is right and what is wrong. Ethics and value supports us in making value-oriented decisions that not only benefit us or our organization or only the top management, but is also beneficial for all the stakeholders, all the people who have some vested interest in this particular organization. Next is creation of corporate culture. The shared values and beliefs of organizational members constitute an integral part of corporate culture. So having a shared value system or common value system creates unity in an organization, unity in their actions, unity in actions of everyone in the organization. It also helps to build a strong corporate culture. All the members of an organization must perform or conduct themselves on the basis of ethics and values. Next is credibility. Ethical and value-based management of business enhances its credibility among the stakeholders. That means organizations who follow a proper set of ethics and who are guided by values in their actions have the ability to impact the stakeholders. These stakeholders would feel that this organization in which they have some interest, this organization is transparent in their operations and hence they are trustworthy. So when every stakeholder is assured of fair treatment by the business organization, it helps to enhance the market reputation of that particular organization. It helps to increase the goodwill, enhance the public image of the business. Next is social responsibility. The observance of ethics and values by a business helps it in discharging its social responsibilities towards various stakeholders. Ethics and values guides you to act socially responsible. It helps you to become more socially aware, what is right, what is wrong in terms of what everyone prefers. Understanding the social dynamics of it also helps you to perform or conduct business activities which is good for all and causes no harm, or at least reduces the harm. Next is legal requirements. There are various laws that have been enacted which declare certain business practices as illegal and prohibited. So all business enterprises are obligated to follow legal business practices. We can say obedience to laws is considered ethical. Next is standards of behavior. The performance of an organization may be judged against the benchmarks set by ethics. Ethics seeks to answer the basic question as to what is good or bad in business. So as we have already discussed this term in the definitions before, standards of behavior. It helps to set certain standards or benchmarks against which we will measure the actual behavior. We set these standards considering what is good and bad in business, considering what is right for the society, what is right for the stakeholders, and making sure at least to abide by those standards, follow those standards, and reach to that benchmark. So the performance of an organization may be judged against those benchmarks set by ethics. ethics and values of a person or shared values of an organization helps in establishing certain standards of behavior, which is considered to be desirable by everyone or by all stakeholders. Next is ethical decision making. To start that topic, we firstly need to understand the definition of this, to understand this term decision making. So, a decision involves the act of choice and the alternative chosen out of the available alternatives. The process is concerned with searching and evaluating alternatives to a problem and selecting the best alternative is known as decision making. So, in our day to day life, we take so many decisions, be it small or big. As a manager or as a decision maker, there's a process that one follows to make any decision. To reach out to one particular right solution, a problem is firstly identified, it's broken down into different parts to identify and determine where actually the problem is. And then different solutions, different alternative measures are found out. Then implementation of that solution. You select the alternative and then you implement it. Last is evaluation of solution, or we can say a follow-up action that we undertake. Let's start and study them in detail. First is define the problem. It is essential to define the problem before any action is taken. It is very important for an entrepreneur, for a manager, or a decision maker, or any authority while they're planning to act upon a problem. They need to firstly identify the problem in a very fair manner, try to break down into certain smaller parts to understand them fully, and then clear definition of the problem is very important. Why? Because the right answer can be found only to a right question. Next is developing the alternative solutions. So without resorting to the process of developing alternatives, a manager is likely to be guided by his limited imagination. Unless he does so, he cannot reach the decision which is the best possible. So unless a person, decision maker, tries to find out different alternatives to a problem, he or she will be guided by his or her limited imagination only. Anything that we see at first and then only acting upon it is not the right solution to any problem. So it is very important to not be guided by any limited imagination and search for the alternative solution which can serve the solution, which can serve the problem better. Third is evaluation of alternatives. So evaluation of the alternatives can be done by comparing their positive and negative aspects. Probability of effectiveness of each alternative in resolving the problem at hand. So understanding the alternatives and understanding which alternative would be more helpful in solving the problem is the right thing to do in this step. Next is choice of the alternatives, wherein we select the most appropriate alternative course of action out of all the available alternatives. One is selected considering certain factors, keeping in mind those factors like cost, time, material, manpower required. Wherever all these factors are suitable, wherever everything can be served better, that alternative is chosen. That alternative can be also evaluated or chosen in a way by ranking them, by attaching some weightage to it, and then selecting the best alternative. So you can rank them in the order of priority list. For example, option A, option B, and option C. So if option A doesn't work out, option B is there, and option B in case doesn't work out, then we have option C. Next is implementing the decision. So it's always said that unless the decision or a solution is not put into practice, the planning is of no use. So a manager must ensure that systematic steps are taken to implement the decision accurately. It is also seen that during the implementation process, the main problem the manager faces is the resistance by subordinates. Why this resistance occurs is because of the fact that some subordinates or stakeholders are not made a part of that decision making process. They would feel the fear of losing their job, they would feel the fear of training, they would have so many fears because of which they will resist any kind of sudden change. That is the human tendency. So it is important to make them the part of a decision making process, allow them to understand the problem completely and understand why it is required for this decision to be implemented. Also allow them to communicate freely with the top management to understand the problem, to understand how this decision is going to have an impact on them. Next is follow up. Check the results after putting the decision into practice. If the decision is bad one, then he will know what needs to be done the next time. So it is basically to identify any discrepancy and what can be done in future that needs to be taken care of in this step. So I hope the concept of values and ethics, the basics of it would be clear after this presentation. Thank you, everyone.